Hi guys, Maikeru here. This is my Runescape free tips and tricks number 5. Again, in this video, it's just smaller tips and tricks that people might find very useful and then help with just you playing Runescape or with a certain activity. So let's get right into it. The first tip is something that really annoys me personally at places like Rise of the Six, and there's also other places where your screen shakes. You can actually turn screen shaking off now. You just go to your settings and under general game interaction, there is disable camera shake. So you can tick that and it stops any camera shakes. So when you quake, it doesn't shake the screen. And the main thing, like I said, is Rise of the Six. Look at this. It's so much easier doing Rise of the Six without the screen shaking all the time. The screen still curves around a little bit, but it's very easy to navigate the tunnels compared to when it's shaking constantly, and you have to try and make sure you click in the right place. You might misclick because it's shaking. Definitely so much easier. Another thing that's pretty big is there's now a perk calculator on the wiki, and it gives you the percentage of rolling the perks that you want. So the ordering and the layout of the components is very important. Let me show you why. So I put an evasive in the middle, healthy at the top, and then I put free direct around it. Then I calculate this. As you can see, you're looking for bite into Venom Blood, right? And I literally can't even see bite into Venom Blood on here because it has such a low chance. Getting bite into Venom Blood with this combination is very hard. But if I do something very simple, which is just move the evasive to the top and the healthy to the middle, and then I submit again, biting 1 Venom Blood is a 31% chance, and then biting 2 Venom Blood is a 2.6% chance when it wasn't even here before. That means the placement is very important for these perks. What if we put our free direct in first, and then we put our evasive and our healthy, and we submit that? So biting 2 Venom Bloods are 2.5%, so it's slightly less likely in this combination. So if you wanted to check the best possible combination for the gizmos, use this calculator and it will definitely help you before spending loads of money on perks and essentially maybe doing it the wrong way. The calculator will be linked in the description. Another thing that I know a lot of people don't actually know is if you go to your price checker, there's actually a search function for the price checker. This means if you're killing a monster and you don't have time to go to the GE or whatever, you can literally search whatever you want. So for example, I searched Cinderbanes because I'm going to be saving up for those and I've just got a drop from a boss or something and I'm like, oh, can I afford Cinderbane gloves? You can click them and it tells you how much they're worth at the GE mid price. It's a good way to find out prices of things without actually having to go to the GE. Another thing that's very useful is getting multiple Tyranwin Quivers. This is essentially pretty damn good if you want to have bolts and arrows in 2 quivers. A lot of people get quite frustrated that you can't have bolts and arrows in a single quiver, but this is the next best thing. If you talk to the elf tracker at the Tyranwin Lodestone, talk about the task system and say, could I buy a spare of the reward? He then tells you what quiver you want. So if you have quiver 4, you can get quiver 3 alongside it for 25k coins, and you can put arrows in this one and have your bolts in quiver 4. Pretty damn good if you ask me. You can get multiple quivers. It's actually really cool. The reason why I said get quiver 3 instead of quiver 4 is if you have 2 quiver 4s, it doesn't distinguish which one will load in a preset, which means it's going to load a random one and you're probably going to bring the wrong ammo. But if you get 4 and 3, it will distinguish them as they're different items and then you'll get the exact ammo that you want for 1 less prayer bonus. Kinda sucks if you get the wrong ammo and you go all the way to the boss and you don't realize just for your preset not loading correctly. So I wouldn't advise getting the quiver 4. I'd definitely advise getting a 4 and a 3. There's one item that's actually severely underused, I'd say, at some of the places of PVM that you do at the mid and maybe even higher tiers, and that's expensive spices. Expensive spices make your food heal 50 more. This can be really good coupled with stuff like blue blubber jellyfish, as they'll heal 800 instead of 750, and a lot of people use blue blubber jellyfish nowadays. For example, this is my preset for necks. So I have my necks gear and in my inventory I take mostly blue blubber jellyfish with a couple of brews. I pretty much spam blue blubber jellyfish throughout the next fight so it doesn't take down my adren and I can get a good amount of HP. Because the blue blubber jellyfish have 3 extra eats, that's 150 more HP per slot. So taking it alongside my 14 jellyfish is 2,100 extra healing, which is pretty much exactly the same as taking a jellyfish. But every time I eat one, it's going to heal more, which is a bit more safer. 800 versus 750 doesn't sound like a lot, but it does add up. Obviously, not everyone's going to take expensive spices, but I do think it's a pretty damn good item in certain places like this. Something not everyone actually knows is you can repair a Blood Amulet of Fury on a repair stand in your player-owned house, and it's much cheaper to fix. As you can see here, it's 80k to fix it by 17%. Whereas if I use blood runes on the Amulet of Fury, it's going to use 320 blood runes to repair it by 17%. With blood runes being 700 GP each, that's over 200k in blood runes to repair the Amulet of Fury. This is essentially nearly 3 times the price. Definitely not worth using blood runes over repairing on an armor stand, as it's so much cheaper on an armor stand. Especially when you get extra smithing levels, then it just gets cheaper and cheaper up to the point where it's 80k. I remember showcasing this with the sigil slot, but now sigil slots aren't here. I'm going to showcase it with the pocket slot instead. So instead of having to put your book in your pocket slot, then drag the book onto your bar so you can activate it, or the same with scrimshaws, you can drag the pocket slot itself onto your bar. Then once it's on your bar, whatever you put in your pocket slot will have activate as the option. So I can press 1 and it activates the book, but then if I put a scrimshaw in and I press 1, it's going to activate the scrimshaw instead, and whatever scrimshaw or book it loads in my preset, it's always going to change that pocket slot that's on my bar. Super useful, very helpful, and just saves you more keybinds. Another thing that could come in pretty handy, especially if you have one of the interfaces that is completely even all around the sides, is changing your game view. If you go to edit layout mode, you can go to advanced options and find game view under here. If you tick that, that allows you to actually move around, extend, resize your actual game view that you see with your character. So for example, if my interface was even all the way around, I could extend my game view so that the inventory, the worn inventory, the minimap, none of it overlaps the actual game view. So if I was to save this, my game view is now centered here. That means I don't have to worry about anything being underneath my inventory or any of my interfaces and not being able to click it or not being able to sort it. It's just a bit nicer, especially like I said, for the people that have a interface that's completely even around the outside. This is a tip for someone coming back to the game who might not be the most familiar with the new mining and smithing after the rework. As you can see above my head, I have a progress bar. But there's actually another bar called a stamina bar that's very important to mining that isn't automatically put on. If you go to your settings and you go to skills, mining, there's a couple of toggles you can put on here. One that I definitely would always recommend is put your stamina bar on while mining. This then gives you this extra bar that shows how much stamina you have. If this bar ever hits 0, you get so much less progress, and it's insanely worse experience and ores an hour. But because it's not automatically on, a lot of people that are coming back from the mining and smithing update don't even realize there's a stamina bar. Keeping it as high as possible gives you the most progress per hit. One little thing that I do personally that I really enjoy is changing my interface to legacy mode to resize it when AFK skilling. So for example, I just want to do some fire making or something, and if I moved and resized my interface and put it like over here, I really can't do that when I'm in EOC as it's very hard to click everywhere. But if I press escape, go to settings, and then I change it in miscellaneous to the legacy interface mode, it's so much easier to just do the AFK skilling and resize your screen literally anywhere you want. So you can go really large, really small, and it makes it so much easier to resize the screen how you want it. Then you can easily bank at everything perfectly. So if you only have one screen, resizing your screen like this in Legacy is so much better. Then you can watch some YouTube or something. Personally, I've been literally addicted to David Dobrik's vlogs. So I've been watching a lot of these. And this definitely helps if you only have one screen or if you have multiple accounts going and you want to run them side by side. Resizing them in Legacy interface is so much better than doing it in EOC. It's just so much smoother. Not the biggest tip here, but something that I've used throughout the time of playing RuneScape, and it's helped me so much. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this episode. As always, let me know in the comments down below if you have any tips of your own that you want to share. If it's a cool tip, I might include it in the next episode as well. Hopefully some of these tips were helpful to people and you learned something new. Do give the video a like if you did enjoy it, and until next time, see ya.